Thank you for tuning in to Love in Your Hands with Cynthia Clark, the podcast about how to live life with love. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to go to find long-lasting love using the most innovative and accurate algorithm based in scientific palmistry. Tired of superficial connections? Start your free soulmate connection membership today at loveinyourhands.com. Now here's your host, Cynthia Clark, palm reading consultant and compatibility expert. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I'm always excited to talk about love and how to live life with love. And today I want to start out with a little palmistry lesson. And I want to focus on our affection lines. Okay, so traditionally these are called the marriage lines, but we don't actually know if there's a piece of paper attached to these lines. So I just call them the affection lines. And they're actually located on just underneath our little finger. Okay, now if you're not ready for affection, there are various ways that these lines will show up, okay? And by the way, all the lines in your hands do change. So based upon how you're interacting with your environment, how you think and feel, and how you react, is going to show up in your hands eventually. And you can see even these affection lines will ebb and flow based upon your choices. So one of the ways to tell that if you're ready for love is you can see these little lines. Okay, so they're right under that little finger, right on the side. We call this the percussion part of your hand, right above the heart line, which is of course a major line that starts at the edge of the hand and goes up towards the middle finger or the index finger. And these little lines just kind of jut into the palm. Now, if you're ready for love, they're going to show that they're very small lines. Okay, most people have between 1 and 3 of these lines, and they're just really short. Okay, short and straight. But if you're not ready for love, they're going to do some various things other than that. Okay, so they're either going to be really long, and they're going to actually jet into what we call your Mercury mount, or they're going to wind around your Mercury finger, or they're going to drop down into the heart line. So if you see any of these variations, or they may fork as well, you may have like a line that splits into 2. All of those are indications that you are not ready for love in some capacity. So that is today's palm reading lesson. And everybody take a look at your own affection lines and see what's going on with you. So I'm excited to introduce our guest for today. We have Heidi Piper, who is the author of the book Choose Love. She comes from a background of research and development with Procter & Gamble for 30 years. But she is now a coach, consultant, speaker, and writer. And I'm really excited to hear more about her book. So welcome to the show, Heidi. This is exciting.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
So so tell us a little bit about, it's quite a switch going from R&D to what you're doing now. How did this transformation happen?
Well, it happened over a couple of years, and it was instigated by the story that starts the book, actually. So I was a research and development executive living in Europe with my husband and my 2 teenage children. And after 24 years together, my husband just walked out on the marriage. Out of the blue. He didn't want to work on it. He just wanted out of it. And it was really, really difficult for me. So I went through a dark night of the soul, a pretty long one. I ended up learning a whole series of practices which allowed me to climb out of the black hole and first just enable myself to survive, and then to tune in to my intuition, to the universe, the greater power, and then to really drop into getting very clear about what I love to do and saying yes to opportunities that show up and taking concrete actions to lead me in the direction of all the things that I'm passionate about. And that over a couple of years drew me to move back to the US after 30 years abroad and to move to Boulder, Colorado, which I just fell in love with. And
such a pretty place.
It's an amazing place. It really, really feels like home to me. And I'm so grateful to be here. And it led to me writing the book. So the book is Choose Love, How to Move Through Heartache with Grace and Rise Like a Phoenix. And it's the story of my own transformation with practical advice for anybody who's going through transformation, particularly if it's accompanied by heartache.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, my marriage ended after 19 years, and it was really, it was probably the most traumatic thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I think a lot of people out there would agree that ending a marriage after, even if it's not that long, can be incredibly horrific.
Yeah.
And it leaves you in such a vulnerable space that you're just like raw.
Yeah.
And it's intense. So yeah, I definitely get that.
It is. It's I think I remember reading somewhere, it's one of the most stressful things that can happen to you, along with losing a loved one, losing a child, maybe one of the worst. And but it's really maybe in the top 3 or so most difficult passages that you have to make. And if it happens out of the blue, it's even worse because you didn't really have time to mentally prepare for what was going to happen. And I definitely was shattered. I was shattered. Your nervous system takes over in a way that was really shocking to me. First, I didn't understand what was happening. And then I started studying a little bit about neurobiology, and I understood that that my nervous system was really running the show, your whole fight or flight reptilian brain. And that puts a lot of chemistry into your body that disrupts your sleep, it disrupts your appetite, and puts you on high alert all the time, which is really exhausting. And this went on for me for months and months. And then I started, as I said, putting these practices into place. And the first practice that I put into place was deciding consciously to choose love for my husband in the situation, because I remember reading somewhere that being angry, feeling angry and vindictive to somebody else was like taking the rat poison and expecting the other person to die. And I had no capacity in my system for poison, really. And that one choice allowed us to separate and divorce with love. And it was also the same choice was the beginning of the transformation of the rest of my life. It was such a powerful choice, choosing love.
Yeah. I've heard lots of stories about that, just forgiving and just being able to, and forgiving yourself too, because a lot of times we take the blame on stuff and we take, which is, it's good to be responsible, of course, but it's not good to take on that toxic rat poison like you talk about. That makes perfect sense. So
absolutely.
That's beautiful. So what happened after that, after that healing started taking place? What happened to you next?
Well, so I had wanted to meditate for a really long time, and I have a sort of hyperactive mind. And so each time I tried to do it, I kind of gave up because I had monkey mind. It was very difficult for me to focus. But this really, I was so desperate, and intuitively I felt like it would be a very powerful tool to help me. And so I started meditating every day and tried different practices. And I then, though, started it had so many healing benefits. So it allowed me to start sleeping again. It allowed me to calm my nervous system, which I desperately needed. And it started helping me be very intentional about tuning into my intuition. So I'd had a pretty strong intuition before, but I was realizing how powerful it was, like how it can be so helpful as a tool, and that one can tune into it deliberately and ask questions and receive information that allows to take better decisions. And then I started thinking about what did I really love to do, because I needed to lift my energy. And when you're doing things you love, then it makes you feel good automatically. And I actually, I like to sing. I've sung ever since I was very small. Like I used to sing around the house when I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And then I started writing music when I was 10 years old. And I did some musical theater. But I kind of, when I started working and then had children and was married, running a household and everything, I didn't write music anymore. I didn't sing very often, but singing was one of the things that made me happiest. And so I had actually 10 years prior to this been given the phone number of a singing teacher where I lived in Germany. And I decided I love to sing. I should finally, after 10 years of having this phone number on my bulletin board at home, call this woman. And I did. And then I started singing again. I started writing music again. She asked me one day, why are you here taking singing lessons? Like, do you want to sing at weddings? It's just for fun. And I don't know where this came from, but out of my mouth came, I would love to make an album, because I had never dreamed I would ever make an album that sounded like something like not really attainable for me. And I started coming in with the songs I wrote, and she told me, you need to do it. And then I actually ended up making an album. And so I wrote, recorded, published an original record album at the end of 2017. And it's really also, all the music was about my journey, my healing journey. And so it's called Lovers and Friends, and it's about love lost and found.
That sounds so beautiful. I think everybody would want to hear that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and it's so, what I love about music like that is it is so healing for the person, but then it's also healing for us who get to listen to it, because we get to experience it with you. So that's something I love about music that other genres don't really do. Yeah, it's very special.
Yeah, I love music, and I love to sing. It really puts you in another place.
Yeah. I like your comment too about meditating, because I think a lot of people do struggle with the monkey mind, and they either don't know how to meditate, or they give up on meditating, and they feel like, oh, it doesn't work for me, or I can't do it. And they're so hard on themselves. And it's like, what would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I liken meditation, now that I know more about it, to gym training for the brain. And so I don't mean to, make more light of meditation than it deserves, because meditation is just an incredibly powerful, can be a very deep transformational spiritual practice. But for those starting out who are just approaching it, if you're familiar with going to the gym or doing sports, you know that there's many, many different ways to train your body. And so some people, if you want to practice fitness for your body, you might swim, you might run, you might bike, you might lift weights, you might play basketball. There's so many, do yoga. There's so many different ways that you can make your body fit. And it's not one size fits all. Some people like one way of doing that, and the other ways are not interesting to them. And I've found there's so many different ways to practice meditation. It's not one size fits all. And so I would encourage folks to try different kinds. Just like if you were starting in sports and had never done it before, you can try all different kinds, and you find what really you enjoy, you think that you could stick with over time as a practice because you enjoy it. It resonates with how you like to practice. And then I think also over time, as you develop and try different things, maybe what's right for you at the beginning might not be the right thing for you to keep doing forever, may or may not. And so, for example, because I had the monkey mind thing, I started out with an audio guided meditation. I actually used one on the app Omvana, Omvana. It was recorded by Vishen Lakhiani. He's the founder of Mind Valley. And it's called 6-phase meditation. And I liked it because he focuses on 6 different things over 20 minutes. So it's not too long. You're really only focusing on one thing for a couple of minutes at a time. And it's very comprehensive. So it includes a heart-centered meditation. It includes a visualization. It includes thinking about the day ahead. It includes a forgiveness part. It's really nice. And it includes a blessing part. It's a really nice range of types of meditation, if you will, and you don't need to do it yourself. So I started with that for a year. I did it every day for a year. And then I started practicing more silent meditation, just myself. And I'm still learning. I did an advanced meditation workshop last weekend with Joe Dispenza online, which I really loved. Yeah, I just signed up for his week-long conference in February, which I'm super excited about.
Oh yeah, he's terrific. Yeah, I was listening to his meditations while I was going through my divorce, and it was super helpful. So yeah, that's awesome. So what other ways can we choose love? Like, what else does your book talk about?
Well, that's such a great question, because in the book, I talk about choosing love for my husband as the first of 16 practices I put in place. Another one is meditation. And though I also talk about choosing love for yourself, really important, because you need to fill up your own cup to really be fully able to give to somebody else. Somebody told me the other day they like to give from their saucer of their cup because their cup is overflowing.
I like that.
I really liked it too. Yeah. But it's really, really important, the whole love yourself thing. And that includes all kinds of really good self-care. And in some cases, making clear boundaries. So you protect yourself. And then I would say, I'm interested very much in starting a Choose Love movement, because I really look at Choose Love from a broader perspective. I do believe that if all of us could choose love in ways small and large more often, we would elevate the way that we interact with each other, and we'd elevate the way that we interact with the planet, and that would enable us to come together more effectively when we have different points of view, different opinions, to solve problems. After 30 years in innovation, it's very clear to me that amazing innovation comes at the interface of 2 different things. Can be fields of science and can be points of view, for example. So if you and somebody else have a different point of view, you come together with the shared goal of solving a problem, then that friction at the interface of the different points of view can produce an amazing solution that was not evident before, when you're only looking at it from one or the other person's point of view. And again, if you think about it on the level of what we need to achieve together as the human race and on the planet to secure our survival, we need a lot of innovation. And all those very different points of view are a fertile ground for creativity and problem solving. But we need to approach each other with love, with respect, willing to see it from the other person's point of view, and willing to collaborate, actively collaborate.
Yeah,
And
I do
believe, thank you. And I do believe that we need to work on ourselves first. And the more that we work on ourselves, the more we'll see the benefit of that reflected in our interactions with each other, as individuals and as groups. And so focusing on improving our own personal game, let's say, to go back to sports, is is really going to help not only us, but everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I'm constantly working on myself. And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah, me too.
good. Like it's not and it's not coming from the space of there's something wrong with me.
No.
Coming from the space of I want to grow and I'm here to grow and evolve, and
Mm.
I'm excited every day to see what's next and what's coming, and I love this concept of us all choosing love. It can be such simple things too, like just smiling at a stranger, or holding the door open for somebody,
Mhm.
or the old lady in the parking lot who's struggling with her groceries. It's like, go pick up the, get
Yes.
her door for her or whatever.
Mhm.
It can be really simple things. It can even be just meditating on planetary stuff,
Yeah.
like we do there's group meditations. There's a
Mhm.
lot of research on group meditations and how it can actually change the crime rates.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yes.
it's unbelievable, the research
Mhm.
that's out there. And it's like, and we think, oh no, I can't do anything from here as one little
Mhm.
person. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, guess what? We have so much more power
Yeah.
than we can even possibly imagine. So
Yes.
yeah, and if we all started thinking like
Mhm.
that, just
Mhm.
imagine how the world would be different.
It would be so different. And I really think there's a lot of people who talk about the fact that maybe we don't have that much time left on the planet, the way things are going. I deeply believe that if we do what you're talking about, things can change incredibly quickly for
I
the better.
agree. I agree.
And
I think so too.
yeah,
And
and the
I,
power of groups, as you were saying as well, I think is really important to be aware of and participate where you can.
yeah, for sure. So, all right. So, any other advice you have for us before we wrap up?
Well, I would offer just one more thought on choosing love. I think that it's easier to choose love in some instances than it is in others. And when somebody hurts you or wrongs you, it may be the most difficult time to choose love,
For
but
sure.
it also may be the most important time to choose love because it just shows a different way of dealing with adversity. It's I think you can just cut the negative energy around adversity in a split second by deciding to choose love, and so it doesn't escalate, it doesn't fester, it not in you and not in the field. And one like very simple example that comes to mind is, say you're driving along in traffic and somebody cuts you off and doesn't acknowledge it, and you're irritated and you have this negative feeling come up in you, and you have a moment then where you can choose how to react. You can choose how to think about what happened. You can say, hey, maybe this person like had a terrible worst possible morning, or maybe this person is like on the way to the hospital because they just heard somebody they love is in trouble there, and you can say, blessings. And I'm with you. Whatever's going on for you, I'm with you. Or you can just get really upset and feel wronged and go into your I didn't deserve that, victimhood or whatever it is, that's calling to you in that moment is. And you really have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Really have a choice.
Yeah, you
It
do.
would be great. I think the more times that we encounter things like that we're conscious that we have a choice and we really stop ourselves. I think it's very difficult to stop the emotion from coming up in you, because I think it's when it first happens, it's like instinctive. But as soon as you feel the flash of emotion, then you can pause before the reaction comes out, and you can choose how do I think about this and how do I react.
Right. Yeah. And Joe Dispenza talks about it. He's like, say change right when that feeling comes up. And
Yes.
I used to do that constantly because I was so angry and frustrated
Yeah, I
all the
get it.
time. It's like change. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, change is your trigger. And then it's like, okay, what do I want to feel instead? And it's like, okay, I want to feel calm and peaceful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, okay, I'm okay. And then, as long as the person doesn't hit you in the car,
Sure. Yeah.
it's like, well, then you're probably okay. And you can just go back to that neutral space. But yeah, that's something that we can all think about, and we're all triggered by different things.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
we're all wired with triggers,
Yeah.
like we're a kind of human minefield for triggers, because one of the things I've learned is I really had to face my own trauma, my ancestral trauma, my childhood trauma when this happened to me. And the more that I talk to people and the more I study it, the more I realize we are all wired with trauma, be it from our own lives, be it from our past relationships, be it from our childhood, be it from our ancestral history and passed down biologically or energetically. And so we're just like walking minefields of trauma, which means we're all available to be triggered. But then, as you just said so beautifully, there's some practices that are available to help us deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, this has been really fun. Oh my gosh, you're so fun to talk to.
Thank you. Likewise. Likewise. It was great.
I feel like I've met a soul sister.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too. Thank you.
so awesome. So how do people work with you, and how do they find you?
Okay, so for the book, and I have a copy of the book here, so it looks like this.
Ooh.
And you can buy it on Amazon. And so it's under Choose Love, Heidi Piper, and it's available on Kindle and paperback. And there's also a website called, all one word, chooselovetribe.com. And in there, you can get directed to the Amazon link, and also you can join the tribe. So I would love to start a movement, as I said, to start a tribe and encourage people to tell their own stories. And I offer people can tell their stories on maybe Instagram or Facebook with hashtag I Choose Love or hashtag Choose Love Story. And then I'm also a coach and consultant, and I do systems work as well. And I have a website for the company called phoenixrisingco.com, PHOENIX risingco.com. And so I can be contacted on either website.
Okay, terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you and all the great work you're doing. And
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
And everyone, remember to live life with love,
Mm-hmm.
and you can choose love as well. So thank you, and we'll see you again really soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Love in Your Hands. Please rate, review, and subscribe to show your support. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find the secret ingredients to your soulmate. Start your free Soulmate Connection membership today using the most innovative and accurate algorithm to match you to potential long-lasting love, all at loveinyourhands.com.